The council chamber on the orbital station was silent. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in a half-circle, their glowing eyes fixed on the lone human standing in the center. His name was Captain Ryan Cole, and he had been summoned not to answer for crimes, but for something far stranger. The request had come directly from the Zilari Medical Council, a species known for their obsession with biology. They had studied human physiology for months. They had tested blood, measured bone density, even charted the limits of muscle strain. Yet one thing had left them confused though, disturbed. And now, in front of the entire Galactic Assembly, they intended to ask. A Zilari physician with shimmering silver skin leaned forward. "Captain Cole," her voice echoed through the chamber, "our studies show humans can mate continuously throughout your entire year. We do not understand how your biological implement does not suffer permanent damage. We demand a clear explanation." Ryan blinked. He had been expecting questions about military technology, or Earth's strange immune system, not this. But the room was filled with serious faces, none showing even a hint of humor. The aliens genuinely wanted to know. Around the chamber, other species whispered. The scaled Drovery hissed in disbelief. The winged Tayari tilted their heads, trying to imagine such endurance. To them, mating was rare and ritualized once a year, perhaps twice in a lifetime. The idea of constant activity was unthinkable. Ryan cleared his throat. "It's not as simple as you think," he said slowly. "But if you really want to know, I can explain." A murmur swept through the hall. Some aliens leaned forward, hungry for the answer. Others seemed nervous, as if hearing it might change how they saw humanity forever. The council chair gave a single nod. "Proceed, human." Ryan started by describing human biology not in detail, but enough to make them understand. He explained how human bodies were built for endurance, not just in running or fighting, but in nearly every function. He spoke about muscle recovery, blood flow, and a resilience that other species simply lacked. But the room didn't just want science, they wanted the why. Why would evolution create such a trait? As Ryan spoke, the tension grew. He told them about Earth's dangerous environment, about predators and survival. On a death world, reproduction could not wait for a perfect season. It had to be possible any time, any day, whenever two humans were alive and willing. The aliens shifted in their seats, some clearly uncomfortable. A tall insectoid from the Kruthek delegation raised a claw. "You mean, your species is always ready, without preparation cycles?" Ryan met the alien's gaze. "Exactly. It's survival. We can fight, hunt, and yes, reproduce without long recovery. Our bodies adapt fast, we heal fast, and we keep going." The chamber was now utterly silent. Even the constant hum of the station seemed quieter. For many of these species, reproduction was dangerous. It could take weeks of weakness to recover, leaving them vulnerable to predators. The idea that humans could continue their lives without pause was almost terrifying, but there was another part Ryan hadn't mentioned yet. And when he did, it would hit the chamber like a shockwave. He explained that human endurance wasn't just physical, it was mental. Humans could feel emotional connection, desire, and motivation far beyond biological instinct. It wasn't just about survival, it was about bonds, trust, and sometimes even love. An alien in the back stood abruptly. "Impossible," it barked. "No species can maintain such drive without exhausting itself. This is unnatural." Ryan gave a faint smile. "To you maybe, but on Earth, it's natural. It's what kept us alive for hundreds of thousands of years. We never had the luxury to stop." The silver-skinned Zilari doctor studied him carefully. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes were sharp. "You speak as if this is a strength, not a burden." "It is," Ryan said firmly. "It's the same reason we can march for days in a war, or survive months of hardship. Our bodies are built for long fights and for keeping our species alive through anything. A low rumble of unease spread through the assembly. For centuries, the galaxy had thought of humans as unpredictable, aggressive, even reckless. But now they were hearing something new: humans were built to endure in ways no other species could match. In the corner, a small reptilian diplomat whispered to her neighbor, "If they can do that every day without harm, what else can their bodies take?" The question wasn't meant to be heard, but it spread quickly through the chamber. Suddenly, this was no longer about curiosity. It was about fear. If humans had this kind of resilience in something as personal as reproduction, what did that mean for combat? For survival in hostile worlds? For resistance against disease? Ryan could feel the change in the room. He straightened his shoulders. "You wanted the truth," he said, his voice steady. "Now you know, we can endure more than you can imagine. And that's not just about mating, it's about everything." The council chair leaned back, deep in thought. For the first time, some of the delegates seemed to be looking at Ryan not as a subject of study, but as a potential threat. Outside the massive window behind him, Earth's sunlit oceans shimmered far below. Ryan glanced at them for a moment, then back at the assembly. He didn't need to say anything else. The truth was already working its way through their minds. And for some, it was a truth they wished they had never learned. The moment Ryan stepped out of the council chamber, 2 armored guards flanked him. They didn't speak, but their rigid posture told him they had been ordered to keep a close eye on him. The door behind him slid shut with a heavy hiss, sealing away the murmurs of alien delegates still whispering about what they had just learned. The corridor ahead curved gently, its walls lined with glowing strips of light. It should have felt safe, but Ryan could sense tension in the air. The guards' eyes were alert, scanning every shadow. This wasn't protection, it was surveillance. Halfway down the hall, a familiar voice called out, "Captain." Ryan turned to see Dr. Alara. The Zalari physician who had asked the question in the chamber. Her silver skin reflected the corridor lights like polished metal, and her long white hair flowed behind her as she approached. But there was something in her expression, half curiosity, half disbelief. "You weren't lying in there," she said quietly when she was close enough. "Were you?" "No," Ryan replied. Every word was true. She tilted her head, her violet eyes studying him as if trying to read thoughts directly from his mind. "Do you realize what this means for the galaxy? If humans truly possess such physical and mental resilience, then everything we assumed about your species is incomplete." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Incomplete or wrong?" Alara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she gestured for him to follow her down a side passage. The guards hesitated, then remained at their post, apparently deciding she wasn't a threat. Ryan walked beside her, his footsteps echoing on the metal floor. When they reached a quieter section of the station, Alara stopped and turned to face him. "There are species here who see your endurance not as an adaptation, but as a weapon. They believe any trait that gives a biological advantage could be turned toward war." Ryan gave a dry smile. "That's not news to me." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Some of them are already talking about restricting human breeding rights in certain colonies. They will say it's for population control, but the real reason is fear. Fear that your kind can outlast theirs in every way." Ryan's jaw tightened. So this was never about science, it was about control. Her gaze didn't waver. "For some, yes, but for me," she paused, her tone softening. "For me, it was about understanding. We Zalari can only reproduce twice in our lives. The concept of constant readiness, it's beyond anything I can imagine." Ryan studied her carefully. He could see genuine fascination in her eyes, but also a hint of something else: respect, maybe even admiration. Still, he knew this was dangerous territory. The wrong word could make humanity look like a threat worth eliminating. Before He could answer. A sudden alarm blared through the corridor. Red warning lights flashed across the walls, and a voice spoke in the Zalari tongue over the comms. Illyra's eyes widened. "What's going on?" Ryan asked. She tapped the comm unit on her wrist. A rapid conversation followed, too fast for him to catch, but when she looked back at him, her expression had changed to urgency. "There's been a breach in the station's lower docking ring," she said. "Unknown vessel. Security teams are moving in." Ryan's instincts sharpened immediately. "Pirates? Possibly," she replied. "Or worse, raiders from the Gorth Syndicate." Ryan had heard of them. Brutal slavers. If they had boarded the station, every unarmed delegate was in danger. He took a step toward the nearest lift, but Alara caught his arm. "You can't get involved," she said. "The Council won't allow it. They're already on edge about your species. If they see you fighting, they'll twist it into proof that humans are dangerous." Ryan looked at her, then at the flashing lights overhead. "If I don't fight, people die. I'm not going to stand here while that happens." Her grip tightened for a moment, then she released him. "Then at least let me guide you. The docking ring is a maze. You'll waste precious minutes if you go alone." They moved quickly through the station, Ryan's longer strides matching her swift pace. The hum of the station's systems was now overshadowed by the distant echoes of shouting and weapons fire. As they rounded a corner, a security officer staggered into view, clutching a wound on his side. He pointed toward the lift behind him. "They're taking hostages, Council members." His voice was weak but desperate. Ryan's eyes narrowed. Hostages meant leverage, and leverage meant someone in the chamber could be forced into decisions against humanity. He glanced at Alara. "You still think I should stay out of this?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "No, now I think you're the only one who can end it before it gets worse." Without another word, Ryan stepped into the lift, his mind already calculating how many attackers he might face and how to take them down without killing. He wasn't here to start a war. He was here to make sure one didn't begin. But somewhere deep inside, he knew this fight could end with the galaxy seeing the very thing they feared most: human endurance in action. The lift doors slid open, with a metallic hiss revealing the lower docking ring. The air was thick with tension. Flashes of light from energy weapons lit the corridor, and the smell of burnt metal hung heavy. Ryan stepped out first, his boots silent against the floor. Alara followed close behind, her eyes scanning every shadow. The sound of muffled cries came from somewhere ahead, and Ryan knew they had found the hostages. He crouched beside a supply crate, peering around the corner. 6 Gorth Syndicate raiders were standing guard. Their armor was mismatched and scarred from old battles, and their reptilian faces were twisted into cruel grins. The hostages' 3 alien council members were huddled together, hands bound, fear etched into their faces. One of the raiders barked in their guttural tongue, "Council will pay, or they will watch their own die." Ryan's jaw clenched. He had fought Gorth before he knew their kind didn't bluff. Every second wasted meant another risk to the captives. Alara touched his arm. "We can't take them all at once," she whispered. "We need to wait for backup." Ryan shook his head. "By the time backup gets here, someone's dead." She hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Then what's your plan?" Ryan's eyes swept the area, calculating distances and movements. "I'll draw their attention. You get the hostages out." Alara blinked. "You're going to take all of them yourself?" "Not all at once," Ryan said, a faint smirk touching his lips. "One at a time, fast enough they don't realize they're losing." Before she could argue, he was already moving. He stepped out from cover, walking casually as if he belonged there. The nearest raider spotted him and raised his weapon. But Ryan was faster. He lunged forward, slamming his elbow into the alien's jaw with bone-cracking force. The raider crumpled before he could make a sound. The others roared in alarm, firing wild shots that sparked off the walls. Ryan dove behind another crate, rolled, and came up with a stolen blaster in hand. 2 precise shots dropped the next pair of raiders before they could flank him. By now, the rest were charging, their heavy boots pounding the floor. Ryan moved with a speed that made them hesitate, ducking low, sidestepping strikes, using the cramped space against them. One swung a blade, but Ryan caught the alien's wrist, twisted hard, and used his own momentum to throw him into a wall with a sickening thud. The remaining 2 tried to back away, but Ryan didn't give them the chance. He closed the distance in 3 long strides, knocking one unconscious with a brutal knee strike and pinning the other with his boot before disarming him. When the last raider stopped moving, Ryan turned toward Alara. She was already untying the council members, her hands quick and steady. One of the rescued aliens, a thin bird-like delegate, stared at Ryan with wide eyes. "You fought without tiring. You never slowed down." Ryan only shrugged. Didn't have time to slow down. Alara glanced at him, and he caught the flicker of realization in her eyes. This was exactly what she had been trying to explain to the council earlier. His body wasn't just enduring, it was thriving under pressure. They moved the hostages toward the lift, but just as the doors began to close, Ryan's wrist crackled. A security officer's voice came through, tense and urgent. "All units, multiple breaches. The Gorth are hitting other sectors at the same time. We think they're after specific targets. And Captain, your name is on their list." Alara looked at him sharply. "They came here for you?" Ryan's gaze hardened. "Looks like it." The lift doors shut, carrying them upward. But Ryan knew the fight was far from over. If the Gorth wanted him badly enough to attack a guarded station, then this wasn't just a raid, it was the beginning of something much bigger. And whatever came next, he would have to endure it the same way humans always had, by never stopping until the job was done. The lift doors opened to a scene of chaos. Sirens wailed through the upper decks, and panicked delegates rushed in every direction. Station guards tried to form defensive lines, but the Gorth were forcing their way in from multiple access points. Ryan guided the rescued council members toward a group of security officers, handing them over with a quick nod. "Keep them safe," he ordered, before turning back to Elara. She was already scanning her wrist display, pulling up a station-wide security feed. "It's worse than we thought," she said grimly. "The Gorth are splitting into teams. One is moving toward the power core, another toward the central comms hub, and..." She stopped, her eyes narrowing. Ryan leaned in. "And what?" "They've breached the medical research wing," she said. "That's where the Zelari genetic archives are stored, and where your medical scan results are kept." Ryan's stomach tightened. He understood now. The Gorth weren't here just to capture him, they wanted data on human biology. If they got their hands on it, they could study and possibly weaponize human traits. "We can't let them have that," Ryan said firmly. "If they learn what we're capable of, they could breed soldiers with human endurance," Alara finished, her voice low. "It would tip the balance of power in the galaxy." They didn't waste another second. Ryan took the lead, weaving through the crowded corridors toward the medical sector. Every so often, a squad of Gorth raiders would block the way, but Ryan didn't slow. He fought like a force of nature, precise strikes, quick disarms, moving from one target to the next without breaking rhythm. Alara stayed close, covering his flank with sharp bursts from a borrowed sidearm. When they reached the medical wing, they found the security door already forced open. Inside, Gorth soldiers were hauling crates of data cores and smashing equipment that couldn't be carried. One of them was accessing a console, downloading files directly onto a portable drive. Ryan charged before they even noticed him. The first Gorth fell to a sweeping kick that sent him crashing into a cabinet. The second raised a blaster, but Ryan knocked it aside and slammed the alien into the wall with enough force to dent the paneling. Alara sprinted to the console, trying to halt the transfer. "It's still running," she shouted. They've already pulled several human files. Ryan grabbed the nearest raider and threw him across the room, then turned to the last one holding the drive. "Drop it," he growled. The alien sneered. "Too late, human. Your secrets are ours now." Ryan closed the distance in an instant, wrenching the device from the alien's claws and slamming him to the floor. He handed the drive to Alara. "Can you wipe it?" She nodded, fingers flying over the controls. A progress bar flashed across the display. Data purge initiated. But before it could finish, the overhead lights flickered, and the station's entire power grid went dark for a heartbeat. When the lights returned, Alara's face had gone pale. The purge stopped. Some of the data is gone, but part of it was transmitted off station. Ryan exhaled slowly, feeling a cold weight settle in his chest. "So they've got something." Alara met his gaze. "Yes, and they'll use it." They both knew this wasn't just a security breach, it was a spark that could ignite a galactic arms race. The Gorth now had a piece of the puzzle, and they would stop at nothing to complete it. A deep shudder ran through the floor as the station's internal alarms shifted tone. This was no longer an intruder alert, it was an evacuation order. Over the comms, the council chair's voice rang out, tight with urgency. "All personnel Gorth forces have planted explosives on the lower decks. Begin immediate evacuation." Ryan glanced at Alara. "We're not leaving yet." Her eyes widened. "You can't seriously." "I'm not letting them destroy the station," he said. "If those bombs go off, the council loses more than data, they lose their unity. And that's exactly what the Gorth want." Alara hesitated, then nodded. "Then we find the bombs." They turned and ran toward the engineering levels, moving against the flood of evacuees. Ryan could already feel the strain in his legs, the burn in his muscles, but he pushed it aside. This was what humans were built for. And as they descended into the dim, trembling corridors, he knew the Gorth were about to learn just how far that endurance could go. The engineering levels were darker than the rest of the station. Emergency lights cast long shadows, and the hum of machinery was broken by distant thuds, each one a reminder that the Gorth's bombs were counting down. Ryan and Alara moved fast. She carried a small scanner, sweeping it over walls and floor. "The explosives will give off a specific energy signature," she said between breaths. "If we can find them before detonation, we will," Ryan cut in. "No other option." The scanner beeped sharply, and Alara froze. "First one's close, just ahead." They followed the signal into a maintenance chamber. A cylindrical device sat at the base of a coolant pipe, blinking red. Ryan crouched to examine. It was compact, crude, but deadly. The timer showed 6 minutes. "Can you disarm it?" Ryan asked. "Yes," Alara said, kneeling beside him, "but it'll take time. Keep watch." Ryan positioned himself by the doorway, listening for footsteps. His heartbeat stayed steady, his breathing controlled. Moments like this, when others panicked, were when humans thrived. 2 minutes later, Alara pulled the device's power core. Free, the blinking stopped. 1 down. 3 to go, Ryan said, already moving out. They navigated deeper into the engineering section, the scanner's beeps growing more frequent. But before they reached the second bomb, heavy footsteps echoed from ahead. A squad of Gorth emerged from the shadows, weapons ready. Ryan didn't hesitate. He sprinted forward, closing the gap before the raiders could take aim. His fist connected with the first alien's jaw, sending him sprawling. A second swung a metal rod, but Ryan ducked low, driving his shoulder into the alien's midsection and slamming him into a wall. Alara fired quick, precise shots, dropping 2 more. The last raider tried to retreat, but Ryan caught him by the collar and yanked him back. "Where's the next bomb?" The alien spat in defiance. Ryan tightened his grip until the raider's legs buckled. Finally he hissed, "Cooling vents." "North Junction." Ryan let him drop and turned to Alara. "Let's move." The north junction was a maze of pipes and steam vents. They found the second bomb strapped to a vent housing, timer showing just under 4 minutes. Ilara knelt again, tools in hand, while Ryan kept watch. From the far end of the corridor, more Gorth appeared. This time they didn't rush, they advanced slowly, grinning, as if confident he couldn't stop them all. Ryan stepped into their path. "You can try," he muttered. They came at him one by one, then all at once, but he moved like a machine, blocking strikes, throwing elbows, driving knees into armored chests. His movements didn't slow, his breathing never faltered. Even as bruises formed and muscles strained, he pressed forward, forcing them back until the corridor was littered with unconscious raiders. Ilara's voice called out, "Bombs down!" Ryan joined her, and they headed for the third location. The scanner led them to a narrow access tunnel where the air was heavy with the smell of burning insulation. This bomb was bigger, reinforced with extra shielding. Someone wanted this one to be the hardest, Ilara said grimly. "How long?" Ryan asked. 5 minutes, maybe less. I'll need all of it." Ryan positioned himself at the tunnel's entrance. It was tight, only wide enough for two to fight at once. That worked in his favor. More Gorth came more than before. Ryan fought with relentless rhythm, each strike faster than the last. They swung blades and fired shots, but he used the walls to deflect and close the distance. Every time one fell, another tried to push through, but none got past him. When Ilara finally called out, third one neutralized. Ryan's knuckles were raw, but his stance hadn't dropped. The last bomb was near the fuel control room. They ran through twisting corridors, the sound of the station's groaning frame urging them on. When they reached it, the bomb's timer showed less than 2 minutes. "This one's different," Ilara said quickly. "It's tied to a dead man. Switch. If we disarm it wrong, it goes off instantly." Ryan scanned the room and spotted a Gorth raider crouched in the corner, clutching the trigger in one clawed hand. "Figures." The alien sneered. "You disarm, we all die." Ryan stepped closer. "Or I take that switch from you before you can blink." The raider's grin faltered, just for a second, and in that second, Ryan moved. He lunged, knocking the trigger away and pinning the alien to the floor. Ilara was already at the bomb, fingers flying. 30 seconds later, the blinking stopped. Ryan exhaled and released the raider, letting him slump unconscious. Ilara stood, holding the disabled device. That's it. They can't destroy the station now, but Ryan's expression stayed hard. They'll try something else. Because this wasn't over, and he knew the Gorth still had the stolen human data. Asterisk, the station's alarms had finally gone quiet, but Ryan knew it wasn't over. The bombs were gone, yet the Gorth still had what they came for: partial human biological data. And if they escaped with it, the galaxy would be in danger. Ilara led him toward the main docking bay. "Security says their leader is still here," she said, her voice tight. "He's overseeing the retreat." Ryan's steps quickened. "Then that's our last target." They emerged into the vast expanse of the docking bay. Gorth raiders were loading the last crates of stolen goods onto a heavy gunship. At the center stood their leader, taller than the others, with black-scaled armor and a jagged scar across his jaw. In his clawed hand, he held a small silver case. Ryan didn't need to ask what was inside. The stolen human files. The leader spotted him and laughed, a deep, mocking sound. "The human endurance," he growled. "We will study it. Breed it. Make warriors that never tire, never stop." Ryan stepped forward, his voice steady. "And you think you can control something like that?" The Gorth's grin widened. "Control? No, use until it burns out. Just like you will burn out." Ryan didn't answer. He just moved. They clashed in the center of the bay, the leader's massive claws swiping with deadly speed. Ryan dodged, blocked, and struck, each movement flowing into the next. The alien was strong, but every blow he landed seemed to drain him while Ryan's pace never slowed. Minutes passed, the sound of their fight echoing through the bay. The Gorth leader's breathing grew ragged, his strikes sluggish. Ryan's, however, was unchanged, controlled, efficient, relentless. Finally, Ryan caught the leader's arm, twisted hard, and slammed him to the deck. The case tumbled free. Ilara darted forward and snatched it up, clutching it protectively. Ryan looked down at the pinned alien. "That's the thing you don't get," he said. "You think endurance is just muscle and bone, but it's more than that. It's the will to keep going when everything says stop. You can't copy that. You can't breed it. You have to be it." The leader snarled, but Ryan's fist silenced and station security surged in, securing the remaining raiders and hauling them away. The stolen data was returned to the Zalari archives, every trace of it purged as the chaos faded. Ilara turned to Ryan. "Today, you proved everything you said in the council chamber. Not just about your biology, but about your people." Ryan gave a faint smile. "Let's hope they remember the part where we fight for more than just ourselves." Later, back in the council chamber, the delegates addressed him again, this time without the same suspicion in their eyes. The council chair spoke for them all. "Captain Cole, today you defended this station against overwhelming odds, at great personal risk. You have shown us that human endurance is not merely a biological curiosity, it is a force that can protect, not just destroy." Ryan inclined his head. "That's all we've ever wanted you to see." Outside the station's massive windows, the stars stretched endless and bright. Ryan looked out at them, knowing the Gorth would try again someday. But when they did, they'd remember the human who never slowed down, and they'd know what it meant to face a species that could endure anything.